Hi there, this is Mrs. Newton. I am just going to run through some principles of design fairly quickly, and I have enclosed a printout for you so you can make this cool box out of paper. The principles of design, I'm going to use 7 principles today. You are familiar with these, but we haven't been using the words in our classes because I was planning on having a whole 3 months before the pandemic to start integrating these principles into our classes. So you may not be familiar with the words, but you are familiar with the concepts. And I'm just going to run through these. I'm asking you to take your printout. You're going to cut it out. It kind of looks like this shape. And then you fold it up. I'm only asking you to do one principle of design on any one of these boxes. You don't have to do all 7 unless you want to. I just like the way it looked on the box. You'll also have this cool printout of squares that can be turned into a box, and if you make this into something else, I would love to see what you do with it, because this can be made into a game. Some people turn it into dice so that it looks like a great big dice for different kinds of games. If you make it into something else, I'm curious to know what you do. Okay, principles of design. The first principle we're talking about is called balance. Balance just means, oh, I forgot to tell you, with the principles, you're not going to be using every one of the principles in every single picture you make or every single picture that you look at in art history. So just kind of get a feel for these. Balance means, like, if you had a scale and you put something on one side and something on the other, you would try to keep them about the same. So as an example, on here, I put one sun and 2 moons. I don't know if you can see that, a sun and then 2 moons, so that they were about the same height as each other and they looked similar enough to take up about the same amount of space. So that's one idea. So on here, maybe I will do a cloud on one side of the picture, a super big old fluffy cloud. And then on the other side of the picture, maybe I'll do a star and a star, so that they're about the same. They kind of balance each other out. Okay, you could also just do, let me see if I can make this. You could also just do a cloud and a cloud, so they would look balanced. This is not the only way to do a picture. This is just an idea. Sometimes you'll see a painting or a drawing and you'll say, wow, that looks very balanced, but they don't always. The next concept is called contrast. Contrast would be, actually, contrast is a couple different things, but in my picture for contrast, I did a picture of a soft cloud here, where it's pretty soft. There should not be any pointy images. And then something really, really sharp. That's contrast. It would be better if this was filled in so that one is light and one is dark. Contrast just means almost opposites of each other. And you'll see contrast in color too. Remember, we talked about the primary colors and the secondary colors. And on the color wheel, 2 colors will be across from each other. So you'll have a red and a green, for example, across from each other on the color wheel. Those could be considered contrast of each other. Okay, the next design principle is called emphasis. And I did, well, I only have 6 spaces for boxes here. On emphasis, what you're trying to do is something where you've got an image in the middle, let's say a house or something. And then all of the things in the picture kind of point towards the house. So this path goes up to the house. And let's say we've got some dramatic trees here that are just almost kind of pointing towards the house. So the tree is blowing in the wind towards the house. And everything in the picture kind of emphasizes the house, makes the house stand out. Okay. The next concept is movement. Kind of used movement in the last drawing where I did the picture of the tree, where the tree looked like it was kind of blowing in the wind. With movement, we've done cartoon characters that kind of looked like they were running. And then we put something behind them that looks like maybe air, an airstream behind it or something. This star is supposed to look like it is moving or flying. If you add a little bit of ink, the kind of ink that I've shown you is a water-based ink. If you add some of that to your picture, and then you get a water bottle or something and you get your finger wet or a brush wet, you can go behind the ink and kind of spread it out so that it looks a little bit more like it's floating in the air and something's trailing behind it. So that's movement. And remember, I'm kind of making these fast. You don't have to do them so fast. I tried to fill these in really carefully after I drew them on the square. So you can slow down on yours. The video would be too long if I did them really slowly. Okay, this is an example of movement where you've got a little star and then something trailing behind it, so it looks like a shooting star. Pattern. Pattern is frequently on clothing. So for example, I did little suns that kind of look like flowers. I just did them in a pattern where they're about the same distance apart from each other, and they stand out from the fabric. This reminds me of the batik fabric that we just all made using glue, and then we did the dye in our classroom, and we colored the pattern. This is the same thing. So if I were to make snowmen, for example, I would put them all about the same distance apart. And maybe I'll do little snowmen down here. Snow women, snow people. Okay. And then a little bit more. Just so that it's organized and it looks like something you might see on a fabric that was printed, or sometimes curtains, or sometimes carpets or blankets will have a pattern on them. I'll do 2 more snowmen. Now, I am not asking you to fill in the entire box of here. All you have to do is choose one of these. You don't have to do pattern. You can do any one at all, just to show me that you kind of get the concept. I know that all of you understand because I have been watching you do this now for several months, and we've used every one of these concepts, but the words may be unfamiliar to you. Rhythm. I like this one. The rhythm, the sun looks like he's kind of dancing. It looks like movement. You guys do a lot of music, so you know all about rhythm. We're using a flat piece of paper without any movement in it at all. So we're trying to convey the idea of movement on a flat, unmoving piece of paper. So maybe I'll do a sun that looks like all of these cool little sun rays are wiggling, and I'll do them all around, and he looks like a happy dancing sun. He or she, I guess the sun could be either. You don't have to copy my idea. Please feel free to do whatever you want. I know a lot of you are into Pokemon, not all of you, but if you're into Pokemon, you could use Pokemon on this. The idea is just to show me that you kind of understand the new words. These are not that important. You'll be studying them again in art class when you get a little bit more advanced. You can also look them up if you're really into them now. I've heard other art teachers describe the principles of design as the spice of art. So a lot of the foundations we've been using are what you use to make a picture, and then you use this as the spice. So you wouldn't use all of these at one time or you would have a big mess. But you use some of these in a picture. You might want to do a balanced picture one time, and then another time you might want to just really do rhythm and where it looks like music going across the page. The last one is unity. Another word for this would be harmony. Unity and harmony just means that they work together. So you could have something that you went up to a painting in art history or in a gallery and you said, wow, this looks very balanced. Remember the sun and the moon I showed you where they're just balanced? You could say that's unity. You could say this is a very harmonious picture because it's working together. You could even look maybe at a pattern and say that looks very harmonious, or that has unity because it's all coherent. It's not a porcupine and a space shuttle. That would not be unity. So I'm in this case going to put a moon, and it's right fitting inside the moon harmoniously is going to be a sun where they are harmoniously working together. This actually reminds me of the printmaking we did, where we did printmaking using styrofoam and markers, and then we did it on the equinox, the day where it's half of the day, 12 hours is sunshine, half of the day is nighttime. And so it's equal, it's harmonious. And so we had a bunch of art that was made with the sun and the moon to represent that. That's it. That's all you have to do. Do one of those on your cube if you can make your cube. If you cannot make the cube, I know you guys are working from home, just make one on here, on any kind of piece of paper that you can find, just to show me that you get the concept. And I'm hoping to get to see these on our Zoom meeting, and I can't wait to see you guys.